We have covered testing. We have covered, say, testing in general, and then we have also covered the objective. So basically, we have say true false, not multiple choice. Of course, we also have matching, but it is at this point it is matching is only conducted in elementary schools, elementary grades, not so much in high school. All right, and we also cover essay. So we have say term paper. We have also say thesis, that type of thing. And now, all of these here, they are used to report educational achievements. Okay, but then what? Mind you, is that multiple choice type of tests, they have been used mostly, or they have been used in standardized test. Now, of course, here you must have read that there have been a lot of debates on whether we should use this to for admission to say to university, admission to graduate studies, and also for hiring, that type of thing. A lot of debates. Okay, we have basically two camps. Okay, one camp is a no, it's kind of it's not good. Another camp coming out strong recently is for. Okay, now because of COVID-19, standardized tests have been abandoned in most university admissions. Okay, in United States and in Canada, but as of this year, starting 2014, some universities in the United States, they started, I'm sorry, 2-3. Okay, they argued based on a lot of data, a lot of analysis, pointing out that using this can predict educational achievements. Say, for example, SAT. SAT is used to enter university. Say, GRE, graduate record exam. It is used for grad studies. Now, we in Canada, we don't have that, but then a lot of graduate studies in Canada, say U of T, all the big universities, they require applicants to take GRE. Okay, then we have the provincial standardized test to replace SAT, but those tests are actually very similar to the Scholastic aptitude test used in the United States. All right? Now, so testing, all of them, they are used to measure educational achievement. Is that right? So and then all of them, they end up what? They end up with what? Marks, okay? But each test will come up with a mark. So normally what? Say percentage grade most of the time, okay, say from 0% to 100%. 50 is supposed to be passing grade. 50 is supposed to be, supposed to be the passing grade. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at what? Take a look at marking and marking and reporting and the results of measurement. So first of all, who needs them? Of course, here you see here students. Right? Students. Feedback to students serves the purpose of guidance in their, a lot of time in the immediate decision making. Now, feedback is most useful when it is immediate and specific. Immediate and specific. And formative evaluation, we talked about this. Formative evaluation usually, long. Right? Formative evaluation is most helpful. Okay. Now, formative evaluation, it is not long. It is short. Okay, for the purpose of telling the students, their strengths and weaknesses. And summative evaluation can also assist in the formation of long-range plans. Right? So most of the time, term test results provide formative evaluation. Short test, summative evaluation, like the final grade. The final grade is used for reporting students' accomplishment in the course. Accomplishment in the course. Okay, let me do this. All right, now to here, feedback enhances motivation. Okay, it does. Here, positive feedbacks tend to very likely increase motivation. Negative feedbacks just do the opposite. However, we have to know that some students need friendly encouragement. Some need chastising. Others may need to be motivated through fear. All right, so for administrators and counselors and teachers, so marks for them are important to do to make curriculum and instructional decisions. Okay, proportion of for example, proportion of college prep courses they should offer, how many of those courses they should offer. Another example is what are new curriculum innovations should be sought or should be continued. All right, so for teachers, reporting helps a teacher evaluate her own strengths and weaknesses. For example, if students are doing well in some aspects of a course, but poorly in others. A teacher should examine her instructional procedures to formulate possible hypotheses as to why that is so. So, the task of preparing a formal report is to look more carefully at student achievement than the teacher might otherwise do. And secondly, to feel some obligation to develop a reasonable basis for it. So she will wish to be able to defend it, to defend the marking if questioned. Then she will likely set up a better evaluation system, the one that can provide more useful feedbacks to students. So for the teacher, it's good to look at here to improve instructional strategy, and also to create a marking system, whereas she could defend it. Right? Okay. Now, what should be reported? So the major factor that should be reported is the degree to which the student has achieved the educational objectives of the course, because those that are crucial, right? And if certain effective objectives are held to be important, they must be measured and the results reported. Right? So here, the most important requirements of any marking and reporting procedures are that it be understood by those people giving and receiving the reports. Right? So that is obviously true. And the reports should be based on the objectives the school is striving to reach. Right? So here it is important, right? So what the mark should be based on based on the objective the school is striving to reach. Okay, let's take a look at marks. When a single mark is given, it can represent achievement, pure achievement in the subject matter rather than attitude or effort. Why? Well, achievement is easier to measure accurately. Attitude can be faked. You cheater. Okay, so this is true all across the world, all schools and all educational institutions. This is true. Okay. Now, most people interpret scores equal to degree of competency rather than degree of effort. And also achievement, we have to admit that achievement, real life achievement is generally more important than effort or interest. Okay? Remember in the course outlined is how hard surgeons or pilots try is not nearly as important as whether they do the job for which they are hired. All right. Now, B, it is what? Impossible to interpret a single symbol which represents, or a single mark, okay, which represents some combination of achievement and attitude, or achievement and effort. Okay? And we must know that both attitude and effort could be what? Faked. Could be faked. So it is what? It is important to realize that what? A tech mark should be based on what? Achievement, is that right? Not effort or attitude. All right. Now, let's take a look at what? At criterion reference reporting. Okay? The percentage right. See here what? We have what? 80% is a 49% of failure, then or percentile range. This is what percentile 90. That means what? Your mark is better than 90% of all the people taking the same test. Okay? Now, take a look at the percentage right on a test is as dependent on test characteristics as on student characteristics. So that there is simply no mathematical, psychological, or educational basis for such a thing as equating 94% or more with an A and 69% or less with what? With a C, and what? 50% is a pass, 49% is a failure. Is that right? So what? Some educators have chosen a non-reference system of assigning marks. So therefore, what a student's grade is dependent upon how other students will achieve. Now let me elaborate on something quite important. Okay, now, in all educational institutions on earth, almost all, we have the following. So this one here is my expensive Yeti mic. Hopefully it does well in capturing my not so good voice. Okay. Anyways, let's take a look here. Okay, we have 90% about with A, sometimes A plus. Okay. 80% and above here we have A. Okay. Or 80. Then we have 70%, 60. Now, here, 50%. This is pass, then 49%, and so on. Fail. Okay, let's take a look. What are you talking about? A difference of 1%. This is one. This is branded as a failure. This one passed. It makes no psychological sense, no psychometric sense, and no mathematical sense, and no educational sense. Nothing. It is just what? Arbitrary. Okay, arbitrary. Well, it's what? This is based upon the idea is that, okay, we have from what? From 0 to 100 to 50 is a passing mark. Okay, something like that. But then anyway, if you look at mathematically 0% to 100%, we have 101 marks, is that right? 101 different grades. Anyway, besides the point here, 50% pass this test. There is no way, okay, we could defend this. This is arbitrary, traditional, by convenience, that type of thing. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so you see here, it doesn't make sense. This is an F. Okay, it doesn't make sense. All right. Okay. Now, so you may ask, Peter, what would you do if you're a student, if one of the students receives 49%? Would you flunk this student? Well, I can tell you, Peter will pass this student. Okay, why? Well, because the main reason, there are two reasons. First of all, that student may suffer from kind of misfortune. For example, before leaving the house, the student forgot to do something, so the mother scolded him or scolded her, right? Or scolded them. And so the student kind of is having a grudge, is that right? Not feeling good, something like that. Or a student was slapped by his or her or their partner, something like this. Okay, so and also, Peter Child's test may not be 100% reliable, or may not be 100% valid. Okay? So some fault on my part, some fault on the student's part. Is that right? So 49% I will pass the student. And then you may say, Peter, okay, 48%. What do you do? You are testing me. Now, if the student has handed in all assignments, okay, okay, then I will, okay, certainly pass the student as well. And normally, what I'll do is what I'll do is that I will look at if the student has submitted all the assignments. Okay, if all the assignments have been submitted, then I will pass 48%. All right, you may say, 47, what about 45%, 44%? You put me on the spot. Well, let's take a look here. Let's say 44% is a long way from here to here. Is that right? 6%. Of course, it's 5%. So what do? I did ask many years ago when I first started teaching back in 1987. Before most of you were born. Is that right? Anyway, I asked, that my colleague is a man. Okay, is a man. I think he was about late 50s, early 60s. So he was well experienced, and he told me jokingly, but then seriously, Peter, if that is okay, what do? You flunk that SOB. I just laugh. Okay, I'll take your advice. Okay, so you don't do that. Okay. All right, so there is no justification for this, okay, all right? All right, now, marking on the basis of growth is problematic, okay? It had what? The similar what problems what to do marking on effort or marking aptitude. Why? Okay, growth is hard to measure. Okay, change scores are notably unreliable, very unreliable, and we have what we call regression effect. Let me tell you what is what regression effect. Now, growth score first. Okay, what is it? Well, let's say when we mark growth, that is one. This is one. This is the first mark, and this is the second mark. Okay, growth means, let's say here, C, if you have this kind of thing here, this is one. The first mark, second. This is, let's say, percentage or score. If you do this, whoa, right? If you do that here, no growth. Okay, here, tremendous growth. Okay, now, but then, if you are smart, knowing that, oh, my effort here is marking effort, then you will do your best to get the lowest mark here. Is that right? And all you have to do is to read a couple of chapters will propel you here. Is that right? You will be what you will have up on. You will your line here will go up like this. Okay, you see, this is what a problem of growth score, or here this is called growth. All right. Well, growth is actually what growth is what we are measuring different scores, is that right? Measuring different scores. That is to say, we have what? Say we have two occasions to score. So here we have what? We have, let's say we assign a mark the second occasion minus the mark in the first occasion. This is equal to the different score. Or it is called the growth score. Okay? So then we know from psychometric that growth scores, they are what? They are very unreliable. Okay, that is to say, okay, I have what? A single mark. Say, the first mark, the second mark, okay, and so a single mark. Then I have what? I have growth mark, or difference score. In terms of reliability, you will see that all these two here, each one of them is more reliable than each one of them. You see? So we don't want to report growth mark, or we don't want to make use of different score. Okay, they are very unreliable. And of course, here I could prove to you mathematically, but of course, this is beyond the scope of this course here, all right? So we don't do that. All right, and besides the psychometric property of what? Of difference score or growth score, okay? Most score interpretation is of status rather than growth. What is status? Status, achievement status. Okay? Achievement status, say, or how much one has achieved. Okay, so in the long run, competence is more important than growth. Okay? Now, growth, however, is more valuable in formative evaluation, okay, those short evaluation, okay, while status, achievement status is more important in summative report like final grades. Okay? So we have to make those differences. Okay, all right. What symbols should be used? Let's say we have A, B, C, D, E, F versus outstanding, satisfactory, or needing more effort, that type of thing. All right, now it is important that the rank order of the symbols be interpretable, and that they represent mutually exclusive categories. And the symbols, all those symbols say A, B, that type of the F, okay, that should connote the level of achievement if that is what is being reported. Right? If that is what is being reported. Right? So the most important is, of course, mutually exclusive categories. You don't want them to overlap. Right? All right. How many marks? Few marks or many marks? Ebel, a famous psychometrician, he showed mathematically that reduction in the number of marks leads to a decrease in the reliability of those marks. Okay? Now, this is true, is that here, most of the time, let's say, let's begin with, let's take a look at reliability. I will use this to represent reliability. Okay? In terms of reliability, the longer the test is, the more reliable than short test. Why? You have more test items, therefore you can measure the examinee a lot more accurate than if you have only a few items. So let's go to the two extremes. If you have a test consisting of only one item, okay, versus the test consisting of 10. All right, so you have one item test versus a 10 item test. Tell me, which one, let's say all the items are measuring the objectives, okay? Of course, this one will give you far more information about this examining than this one here. So if you apply this logic to reliability, you will understand that the longer a test is, the more reliable. The more reliable is the test than a shorter one. Okay, all right. So here, mark. Okay, marks also here. Fewer marks or many. Well, now, of course here, the more marks, the better, okay? And the more reliably depict the examinee's achievement status, okay? Okay, while one obviously cannot grade in finer categories, then one can discriminate. It is not psychometrically advantageous to collapse reliable discrimination already made into broader categories. All right. Now, so here that we cannot grade in finer categories, then one can discriminate. For example, let's say here, let's say 96% versus 95%. Are we going to discriminate between the two? A fine discrimination of their what? Is this one far more accomplished than this one? No. We don't do that, okay? Now, well, we can say this. Yes, this one is more, maybe far more accomplished than this one, okay? But not this. So we need a lot of time let's say in a lot of universities, ours included, that we don't want to do this. We just want here. We submitted the grades in 96 or 86, but then they all branded as A. And then anything below 80% is B, C, D, then of course we have F and so on, right? So this is almost universal, okay, universal. So we don't want more marks to overwhelm both the teacher and the student. Okay? So we only want as many as we can discriminate. Okay, we can reliably discriminate. All right, pass-fail system. There are courses with only the marking system is pass-fail. All right, so let's take a look here. There are arguments for using pass-fail. Okay, pass-fail. Now, let's say some researchers they argued in this way here. Using pass-fail system encourages students to take courses they would otherwise not take because of a fear of lowering their grade point average. In calculating grade point average, say GPA, okay, sometimes it's from 0 to 4. But now, of course, here you also have 0 to 100, depends on which schools, okay, which school. All right, so it encourages students to take courses they would otherwise not take because here all these pass-fail courses won't get into the calculation of grade point average. All right? And another reason that is good for having a pass-fail courses that a pass-fail course, it reduces student anxiety, and it gives students greater control over the allocation of study time, and shift students' efforts from grade getting to learning. This may be true, okay, but let's take a look at what research shows, okay. Okay, roughly about 75 to 85% of the students who would elect to take the course with pass-fail would have taken the course anyway. And another observation is that students do report that they feel less anxious in pass-fail courses. And of course here, if you take a look at students do use the pass-fail option to reduce study time in that area, and concentrate on other courses. Then number 4, the motivation to learn in pass-fail course is about the same or less for 85% of the respondents in one study, an old study, okay? And finally, students do not perform as well in pass-fail courses as in regular courses. So, all in all here, students take pass-fail courses in order to have more time for other courses or more time for leisure, and they don't study as well. That is to say, they don't take pass-fail courses as seriously, right? So that's the conclusion of what pass-fail courses, all right? Okay, so we will continue in the next lecture, all right? Thank you. Oh, bye.